If you have ever walked through Balogun at dawn, you will know how the city wakes like a drum, soft, then louder until every store, every keke, every oka, every impatient horn is playing its part. In the middle of that music stood a man named Chinedu, a shop owner with a smile that looked like welcome and a mind that counted like a calculator. His shop, Eko Essential, sat at the corner of a busy row, paint bright, shelves full, prices written in marker on neat white cards. He had come from Onitsha years back, determined that Lagos would not swallow him the way the river swallows careless fishermen. He said to himself, "In this city, you must be sharp. It is not wickedness, it is survival." That was how he began to till the scale so lightly the eyes could not see. How he learned to pump air into the sachets of garri so the bags look full. How he discovered the trick of peeling expired labels and pasting new ones that promise a fresh future for things whose time had already gone. At first, the cheating was a whisper. Who would notice if 1 kilogram of rice bowed its head and become 900 kilograms? Who would complain if the groundnut oil installed in the back room met water and they struck a quiet bargain inside the bottle? Oil floating on top with a proud face while water wore the uniform of honest gold below. He told himself a proverb he had shaped to suit his desire. The world is a market. If you don't skin the goat will skin you. He laughed at his own wit and counted the extra notes at night. He bought a bigger phone. He bought his wife Amaka a hairdo that made her smile. He put his daughter Zina in a school where they taught French and chess. He began to say, business is good, even when nobody asked. In that same market were people whose life were measured to the last naira. There was Mama Nkem, a widow whose hand swelled and smelled of soap from washing other people's clothes. There was Musa, the taxi driver, who kept a picture of his mother on his dashboard and recite prayers with his passengers' change. There was Tola, a corps member from Ibadan, with a baby face and the courage to ask for prices twice. There was Sula, the boy who carried cartons from van to doorway for small change and a chance to watch Premier League on the shop's small TV. They all came to Eko Essential because the shop was bright and the shelves were full and the smile was quick. Each of them left with their bags a little lighter than they should have been. Each of them trusting that a marketman's scales is the hand of justice. One morning, as the sky was tearing open from blue to white and the first buses were already full, an old woman arrived at the door of Eko Essentials. She wore a scarf and she looked at Chinedu's signpost. Her eyes were that kind that made you want to tidy your speech. She looked at Chinedu and said, as if the reading a sentence was almost true, "My son," she said, "I need salt, but give me it from your heart, not from your scale." It was an unusual request. Chinedu, amused, reached for the square plastic container, the kind that sits in a tray with a scoop. He lifted it and then sat it down. In that small pause, a thought crossed his mind like a fast shadow. He had been feeling salt with a scoop that was shaped slightly inside. The handle gleamed from constant use. He hesitated, then told himself, who is this old woman to demand a hat where a scoop is enough? He packed the salt with a shaved scoop and poured it into a transparent bag. He tied it neatly and handed it to her with a perfect smile. He weighed the bag in her hand without a scale. People were watching. Musa was buying bread. Tola was pricing tin tomatoes. Sula was tying cartons with string. The old woman said, "When a man tilts the measures, the rain tilts the roof above his head." Her voice was low, but it went through the room. She put down money exchange, crisp and slow, and left before anyone could ask anything. Her footsteps were not loud, yet Sula felt them in his bones. Chinedu laughed lightly. "Customers and their dramas," he said to the air. He slid the woman's money into the drawer and moved on, but the day began to rearrange itself. Before noon, a young woman brought biscuits back, the fancy kind with cartoon animals on the wrappers. "My son vomited," she said, face tensed. He said the biscuits smelled like petrol. Chinedu apologized, replaced the pack, and told himself the boy had eaten the biscuits too much. That children invest reasons when their stomachs are unruly. He mentally subtracted the cost from marketing loss and continued counting. By evening, the power went out and came like a friend who cannot make up their mind. The fridge clicked, hummed, then died, revived, then chose death again. The meat inside, the yogurt, the tins of energy drink, all of it signed towards spoilage. "NEPA is wicked," he said, but his generator refused to start, choosing to cough smoke into his face and ask for a mechanic who would not come until morning. He lost money. He cursed quietly and said, "Tomorrow we balance it anyway." But tomorrow came with rain that had no respect. The sky opened like a bag with a bad seam. Water ran through gutters that had been taught to pretend they were free. The small counter outside, where he used to display fresh yams and tomatoes, began to float. He dragged things in, shouted at Sula, put down old sack, slipped twice, and laughed to pretend he was in control. "It was just rain," he said. "Lagos knows rain. The city will swallow it and belch sunshine by afternoon." That afternoon, a small girl with a pink umbrella stood at the door, not entering, just watching. When she spoke, her voice carried like the first note of a hymn. "My mother said we should stop buying from the man whose smile is taller than his honesty." She turned the umbrella and disappeared into the rain. Tola, who was nearby, pretended not to hear, but the words sat in her heart like a stubborn guest. She looked down at the tin of tomatoes she had bought, squinted at the tiny printed dates, and felt her heart strike like a match. The numbers had awkward neatness of a schoolboy careful lie. She carried it back. "Please let me exchange," she said quietly. "This date looks wrong." "Ah, sister, dates are small printing errors. The tomatoes are fine. Printing errors do not repeat themselves exactly on every can." It was a sentence from a straight spine. Chinedu took the can, smiled, and replaced it. After Tola left, he told himself she would still come back. She had the look of a regular, but that evening she posted on a small group chat for core members. "Beware where you buy, read dates, ask for receipts." The message left her phone like a seed comfortable with her. At home, Amaka cooked stew. She tasted it and frowned. "The salt is saltier today," she said, adding tomatoes to balance it. Zina, their daughter, took a biscuit from the shelf and said, "This tastes like the biscuits mommy said we shouldn't buy." She didn't say more because children often cannot name danger. They only react. That night, Zina woke up with a stomach that turned like a restless dream. She groaned, she sweated, she clutched her side. Panic arose like flood water. They rushed to the nearby clinic. The doctor, tired eyes but efficient, examined her, took notes, and asked a simple question. What did she eat? When he had the brand of biscuits, he looked at them and then at his pen and said nothing. He wrote a prescription, the kind that tells you medicine is an apology a body must accept. They went home quiet in the dawn light. Amaka picked up the empty biscuit wrapper and returned it to the date. There, underneath glue and truth, she found the shape of something that had been tampered with. When she brought the pack to the shop, there was no market noise loud enough to drown what her eyes were seeing. "You are feeding us with your lies," she said, voice shaking. She was not a woman who loved drama, but certain days you must choose and you must perform your truth. If this is how you prosper, then what does poor mean? She put the packet down and left, taking her silence with her. That same day, the old woman returned. She did not greet. She went to the salt. She took the scoop, the shaved one, and turned it in her finger like a small story. Then she sat down. When the heart learned to cheat, she said, "The scale is only a pen. The writing is inside." She bought nothing and left the smell of rain behind her, though the sun was blazing. Sula shivered and could not explain why. News in Lagos moves the way a baby learns to walk. It tries, it falls, it tries again, then suddenly it is running. Two videos began to circulate. In one, a young man shook a bottle of groundnut oil and pointed angrily at the clear layer of water at the bottom. In another, a girl lifted a scale, put a weight and showed with a ruler that the pointer did not kiss zero. People argued. Some defended him. "Everyone cheats small, abeg," others said. "Your cleverness is another person's hunger." The market union arrived for a visit, dressed in the authority of old age and new position. They spoke with words deep in pepper and kindness. "My brother," the chairman said, "people are talking. Fix your skill. Stop the date games. Water does not belong in oil. If you must swim, go to Bar Beach." They laughed so to soften the blow. But the chairman's word returned. There, this time, that evening, when the market was closing and the sun was melting into the lagoon, the old woman came again. This time, she stepped into the back room without invitation. The door had been left open because the generator man had just left, promising to return. The way some promises love the future more than the present. The old woman looked at Chinedu and looked at the shelf where labels glue sat like weapons before a battle. She touched nothing. "There is a river in this city that knows everyone's story," she said. "If you go there at night and listen, you will hear your name and what it will become." Before Chinedu could ask which river, she added, "Your father taught you to pray. Your greedy taught you to count. Choose your teacher." She left without looking back. Sleep is a door. Some nights it opens to rest. Some nights it opens to a room where your mind interrogates you without mercy. That night, Chinedu dreamed of a scale taller than a man, standing on Third Mainland Bridge, weighing buses, weighing rain, weighing the laughter in downfalls, weighing the signs in office buses. He tried to climb and adjust it, but the bridge turned it to a rope, and the rope to a snake, and the snake to a word. Return. He woke before dawn and dressed. He told Amaka nothing because he did not know what to say that would break something fragile between them. He walked to the lagoon, where fishermen ride their water's breath and street preachers share money with joggers, and the air that smelled of both salt and diesel. The water was a sheet the city kept trying to iron, pressing it flat here and there with breeze. He stood and listened. At first, he heard traffic, then birds, then the sound of plastic cups the water had adopted and cannot return. Then he heard not with his ears, but with the part of the heart that know its own deceit. The voice of the people had passed through his shop. Mama Nkem counting coins and counting again. while rice shaved itself into less. Musa asking for change and getting smiles did not add up. Tola turning a can in her hand like a question. Sula watching silently as his oga trimmed honesty with scissors. The voices were not hungry, they were tired. He sat on the concrete and said a prayer that did not use big words. God, I learned the scripts of this city wrong. Teach me again. A breeze rose and fell like a chest. Somewhere behind him, a woman's slippers whispered across sound. He did not turn. He knew without knowing why that turning would make the moment ordinary. He waited. The air grew light. Morning made the market busy and bold again. Customers came with the cautious confidence of people who still need the convenience of your shelves, even when they doubt the weight of your conscience. That day, something unbelievable happened. He took down the old scale and brought out a new one, a digital one, sleek and blinking. He adjusted it to 0 where everyone could see. He lined up with his things and checked their dates one by one. Like a man interviewing his own stock, he poured oil into a transparent bowl, swirled it and watched it remain itself. He called Sula and gave him a different job. Stand by the scale. If it ever lies, shout. Some customer laughed. Na social media fear catch am, they said. Some were suspicious. New trick. Some were relieved silently. But when Mama came, he did something that gathered silence around itself like a wrapper. He reached into the drawer, counted the small stealings of many months, little bones of meat that had become a goat, and put the money in an envelope. Mama, I have been sought that tastes like tears, he said, choosing her because widows carry truth with dignity. This is what belongs to you, plus apology. She stared at the envelope. Something but a folded as it might grow legs. She said nothing. She opened it, saw not only but notes and also a pieces of paper where he had written, "One widow's discount, permanent." Something in her eyes softened, then woke up as if from sleep. She touched his hand once, lightly like a blessing that absorbed without words. He repeated that expensive honesty with others. He did it until his throat felt the heat of humiliation and his pockets the cold of loss. He paid his suppliers what he owned fully. No more run around. He printed real receipts, not the little sheets he used to adjust later with a clever herb. He put a sign on the board that said, "If the scale tilts, your food is free." And beneath it, "Bring any item you regret buying here, full refund." Nobody does that in our market, they said. He did it anyway. He was still a businessman. He knew margins. He cut waste. He negotiated like a Lagosian, but he stopped negotiating with truth. It is easy to write what a man should do. It is harder to speak of the days that follow. The first week was pain. People came, returned items, collect money, inspected shelf corners with suspicion, pushed the scale with their fingers to test if it was anchored to dignity or to fear. Money left is still as it had discovered a door he doesn't know about. He came home and found the silence in his house had become a room. He asked Amaka for a chance to rebuild. She watched him, not his mouth, but his days. Lagos does not forgive overnight, she said. She waited to see whether the new behavior had breathed or was merely a pose. The market union returned, curiosity hiding behind their eyes like cats. They saw the sign, saw the new scale, watched customers testing and laughing, and they nodded with that old way men of the market nod when a stubborn person had come back into the family. "We will speak to those complaining," the chairman said. "But remember, A new broom sweeps clean, but not shouting, "I am new," but by entering corners. The corners were not only in the shop, they were in his memory and his promises. He went to the clinic and asked to pay a portion of other children's bills anonymously because he wanted to cut the roots of his past, not just trim them. He fixed a tap in front of his shop, clean water, free, because he knew the water that truly belongs in Hoi is the water you give to the thirsty. He called Zina and apologized like a father, not like a man who is still selling something. He told her there were two kinds of wealth, the kind that weighs your pocket and the kind that lets you sleep. The house learned how to smile again, not the careless smile of "we are fine," but the deep one that says "we are doing the work." The woman did not return for many days. When she finally came, it was late in the afternoon. The sun stood directly above Alaba, textbooks, and plastic bowls, making everything declare its color. She walked into the shop and went straight to the salt. She lifted the scoop and then set it down. "What is salt?" she asked, looking up. "Salt is small, but it makes everything honest," he said. He surprised himself with the answer. He packed a bag of salt, this time with his hand, not to cheat, but to feel the weight, tie it, and push it across the counter. "No charge," he added. "A gift to the teacher I did not deserve." She smiled, and in that smile, he saw a memory older than himself. "There is a market before this market," she said. "A market no camera can film. They have been watching you." He did not understand, but fully, he felt that breeze again. The one that stood by the lagoon when he said his broken prayer. She placed no money on the counter, and he did not ask. She left, and the room felt like it had just finished a hymn. You may be thinking the tale ends here, with a man who learned his lesson and lived happily with full shelves and clean conscience. But life is generous with taste. One evening, an opportunity arrived, dressed in the clothes of progress. A big man from a larger chain came, wearing cologne and confidence. He admired the cleanliness, the water, the sign about honesty. He said, "I like your brand. Let us partner. Put our logo on your door. Supply will be as cheap as crumbs." But, and here he paused with a precision of a man who uses the word "but" like a knife. "You will move the expiry labels for us. Only for some important items. Our people don't check dates. They only check price and color. We will protect you. Money will come like rain." Chinedu felt old fear rise. The one that whispers, "This city owes you nothing. Take what you can." He thought of school fees, rent, and the generator, the new tab, the clinic bills he had promised to keep paying quietly. He looked at the man and at the space behind the man where the shape of his old self was standing, smiling his whole smile. The man leaned on the counter and tapped with a pen. "What did you say?" "I say," replied Chinedu, voice steady like a scale that zeroed itself in public, "that I have eaten lies before and they did not feel me. I am not hungry for that meal again." The man's smile broke like a cheap plate. He withdrew the offer, left words behind that tried to sting. "You will remain like a cheap plate." He withdrew the offer, left words behind that tried to sting. "You will remain small," and went away. Chinedu counted his rejection and folded it carefully like a scarf to wear on days he needed to remember who he had become. Now, news move in strange ways. Just as one video can ruin a reputation, another can repair it slowly, stone by stone. A customer filmed the water tap and wrote, "This shop refused to cheat." A small sentence that felt big to people who were tired of being clever at the cost of being good. An NGO looking for honest small businesses to support found him, not because he applied, but because Sula, now held in regard and paid properly, had told their field officer, "Go and see my oga. He return money even when it's born." They gave him a grant to improve storage. He bought a cold room. He trained Sula to manage inventory properly, showed him how to read contracts, told him that a signature is a promise your soul must be able to pay. Then another test. A fire started 3 rows down, the kind that begins like a joke, a spark, a laugh, and then becomes an ambition. People ran, shouting names, prayers, and instructions. Fire loves market the way gossip loves quiet. It spreads faster when there is something to eat. Chinedu's old self would have been calculated what to say first, but the most expensive gifts and goods. The new self moved with a different math. He pulled the gas cylinders first, then helped the woman whose leg had twisted, then pointed to the back where there was an alley most people had forgotten. He did not perform it for cameras. He did it because certain habits are rehearsals for moments you don't plan. The firefighters came. The blaze surrendered slowly, then with shame. Later, as night returned, everyone's breath to them. The chairman hugged him in public. "Honesty is also a fire extinguisher," the man said. The market laughed. They nodded. Soon, something else happened that felt like a small wonder disguised as paperwork. The city council invited shop owners to a meeting about standard scales. They wanted to pilot a trust seal program. Stores that pass surprise checks will get a sticker, blue, measures true. Some laugh. Stickers did not feed children, but customers began to follow the blue seal like a bird follow a farmer's honest footstep. Eko Essential earned it with no rehearsal. People came because trust is a rumor that grows leg. The big chain that withdrawn its offer sent a different man with a different tone, but the door had learned how to choose. Partnerships still arrived. Suppliers who preferred calm to quarrel. Customers who tipped with gratitude. A school that asked him to come and speak on doing business without eating people. He stood before boys who thought Lagos was a jungle and said, "Yes, it is a forest, but even forests have trees that do not bend to every wind." He also went backward than the lagoon. He took a trip home to Onitsha to sit with his father at evening, to confess in the kind of details that make confession real. His father listened with the patience of old clothes and said, "I pray for you with my mouth. The city taught you with its noise, but you came back to the first teacher." They drank water that tasted like memories, and he promised to send part of his profits to repair the market borehole in his village. He did not post it online. He only closed his mouth as if to sign it with his heart. When the old woman finally returned, because she would. Such stories do not leave people halfway. She did not ask for salt this time around. She walked around the shop, touching the shelves like a librarian greeting old books. She picked up a bag of rice and held it. "This is full," she said. "It is," Chinedu replied. "I don't know why I thought emptiness could make me rich." She looked at him and into him. "Listen," she said, to the oldest proverb. After the market, they resumed. She turned to go, paused at the door while sunlight was lending attention, and added, "And home recognizes the smell of truth." He wanted to ask her name, to know if she was a woman who sold fish somewhere or a messenger from a place outside the city map, but he did not ask. He had learned to leave some things unnamed so that they can keep teaching. Now, when people pass Eko hotels, they tell their children a small story, the kind that fits in a walk between stores. Once there was a shop owner who cheated, they said, and the children's eyes widen because stories are like sharp edges. What happened next will shock him, the parent says with a smile, and the children lean in, expecting a ghost or a policeman or a fight. But the shock is quieter and strong. The man returned money. The man fixed his scale in public. The man refused a big offer that smelled like spoiled meat. The man chose to be small in a way that made him big. In a city where speed is religion and cunning is loud prophet, he found a slower gospel to measure straight. And when the rain comes heavy and the gutter argues with the water, the sign on his door stays dry like a truth under a good roof. If the scale tilts, your food is free. Customers still test it playfully. Sometimes the scale is off by a whisper because nothing human is perfect. But when that happens, he laughs and pays with rice and apology. Children run to the free tap and splash water with their face as if baptizing themselves into a different market feature. Sula, now Suleiman Adeyemi, the new assistant manager, stands with a small badge that reads, "Ask me to Reby." Tolani visits sometimes, buys, and leaves without checking it because she knew if a mistake appeared, it would be admitted before it is discovered. Musa parks and tells new driver, "He is my friend. His receipts are cleaner than my dashboard." Mama Nkem paused at the door and said prayer that only widows know, that the kind that bends heaven here. If you listen closely on certain evenings, when the sky has finished its work and it's resting its elbow on the lagoon, you will hear a story moving lightly through the market, a story whose feet do not make noise, whose shadow you do not see under the stalls. It will say, "The world is a market. Go and buy only what your soul can carry home." It will add weight. Weigh your goods, but weigh your heart first. For a tilted scale is a poem that betrays its author, and a straight one is a song that teaches the city to dance without stepping on anyone's stone. This is how a shop owner learns that cheating makes you busy but not prosperous, clever but not wise, full but never satisfied. And in the end, when the city closes its eyes and the market returns to silence, the only thing that sleeps without turning is conscience that has learned to measure truth like salt, small, necessary, but enough.